Step into 18th century Paris with me, a metropolis that defined European sophistication during an age of intellectual awakening, artistic brilliance, and dramatic upheaval. Through cutting-edge artificial intelligence, we're breathing life into historical paintings and engravings, converting them into stunningly realistic visuals that transport you directly into the streets of 1700s France. You'll experience what daily existence truly felt like in this remarkable city. During this 100-year period, approximately 600,000 residents called Paris home, establishing it among the planet's most populated urban centers. This was the birthplace of revolutionary thinking, where intellectuals like Voltaire and Rousseau challenged fundamental assumptions about governance and human society. The city embodied the Enlightenment itself. Yet beneath its breathtaking monuments and sophisticated boulevards existed a metropolis of extreme divisions. The privileged classes enjoyed opulent mansions overlooking the Seine's banks, while the vast majority endured overcrowded, unsanitary districts. Before we conclude, you'll witness AI-generated imagery depicting the French Revolution, that explosive 1789 uprising when generations of social injustice finally ignited into bloodshed that transformed not just France, but global civilization. Let's begin at the Seine River. The Pont Neuf bridges the waterway, though construction had finished over 150 years earlier in 1607. This was Paris's commercial lifeline. Timber platforms, wine-laden vessels from Burgundy, and merchant ships transporting coal and wheat constantly moved across its surface, sustaining the massive population. The riverbanks teemed with dock workers and wagon drivers hauling merchandise through muck-filled lanes. The right bank features the Hôtel des Invalides, its golden cupola constructed during the 1660s. Further back stand Notre Dame's twin spires on Île de la Cité, the medieval island where Paris originally emerged. But romance aside, the Seine was disgustingly polluted. Untreated sewage and factory runoff poured straight into these waters, generating horrific odors. Incredibly, Parisians extracted their drinking supply from this contaminated source. Modern Paris has remediated the river, with its embankments now protected as UNESCO treasures. Building commenced in 1163, requiring almost 200 years to finish this masterpiece of French Gothic design. Those famous twin towers and spectacular rose window commanded the island's skyline. The setting differed dramatically from today. Notre Dame was hemmed in by tightly clustered structures pressing against its exterior walls. The surrounding alleys were perpetually shadowed and revolting, blanketed in horse excrement and refuse, with exposed drainage channels producing unbearable stenches. Despite such squalor, Notre Dame functioned as Paris's religious nucleus, staging royal events, sacred celebrations, and regular services drawing everyone from monarchs to the destitute. The cathedral still occupies the Île de la Cité, though 19th-century renovations removed the medieval constructions. The Hôtel de Soissons stands as our next destination, a spectacular estate Catherine de' Medici commissioned between 1572 and 1584. Its most striking element was the astronomical tower column rising 28 meters, purpose-built for stargazing as Catherine maintained passionate interest in celestial predictions. By the 1700s, ownership had transferred to the princes of Soissons, accommodating various aristocrats, no longer serving as a primary royal dwelling. The manicured grounds displayed geometric layouts characteristic of French Renaissance landscaping, providing an elegant sanctuary amid one of Paris's most congested neighborhoods. The palace sat adjacent to Les Halles, functioning as Paris's main provisions market since the 12th century. Adjacent thoroughfares ranked among the city's most chaotic and repulsive, permanently coated with decomposing produce, fish remains, butcher's waste, and enormous piles of animal dung. Market odors were overwhelming, while cramped medieval passages stayed dark, packed, and waterlogged. The juxtaposition between these refined palace grounds and the disgusting streets immediately outside was stark. The structure deteriorated progressively and faced demolition in 1748. The Palais du Temple displays the entrance to the Knights of Malta's Parisian headquarters. Initially erected as the Knights Templars' European stronghold during the 11th and 12th centuries, the property transferred to the Knights Hospitaller following the Templars' 1307 dissolution. By the 1700s, this neoclassical gateway accessed the Grand Prior of Malta's French residence, typically held by French royalty. The Temple district operated as a semi-independent zone within Paris, exempt from standard regulations and taxation. This privileged status attracted nobility seeking discretion and craftspeople seeking liberty from restrictive trade guilds. The area gained renown for workshops manufacturing premium goods beyond guild oversight. The Temple's most infamous chapter arrived during the Revolution when the medieval tower imprisoned King Louis XVI and his family in 1792. Napoleon razed the entire compound between 1808 to 1811, preventing it from becoming a monarchist memorial site. The Foire Saint-Germain represented one of Paris's most celebrated seasonal marketplaces, operating annually for 6 weeks spanning February through Easter on the Abbey of Saint-Germain-des-Prés grounds. Sophisticated neoclassical arcades contained hundreds of temporary merchants vending luxury merchandise, silk textiles, precious jewelry, literature, fine porcelain, and foreign imports. Upper-level pavilions presented theatrical productions including early operatic and comedic performances. All social strata intermingled here, nobility in ornate silk garments alongside tradespeople and street peddlers. The sheltered walkways also featured coffeehouses, dining establishments, and wagering houses, essentially functioning as a temporary retail and amusement complex. Revolutionary authorities suppressed the fair in 1789, with buildings demolished between 1813 to 1818. The Hôtel de Luynes, a grand noble mansion belonging to the Duc de Luynes, stood along the Seine's left bank. The Luynes lineage represented prominent French aristocracy, their dukedom established in 1619 for Charles d'Albert, a favorite of King Louis XIII. The palace exemplified French high society's 1700s lifestyle, showcasing refined classical design with multiple sections, steep slate roofing, and elaborate facades typical of noble dwellings. Direct river access provided both status and practicality. Vessels could deliver cargo and visitors straight to the palace's private dock. These aristocratic estates encompassed dozens of chambers for lavish entertaining, private quarters, servants' accommodations, and formal gardens. The private quays received superior maintenance compared to public streets, regularly cleaned by staff despite heavy Seine pollution. During the Revolutionary era, such aristocratic extravagance became politically volatile. Many noble residences were destroyed during the French Revolution, and the Hôtel de Luynes no longer stands. The Palace of Versailles, the spectacular royal compound situated roughly 12 miles southwest of Paris. Though technically outside Paris, discussing 1700s France without mentioning Versailles would be incomplete. King Louis XIV constructed it between 1661 to 1715, transforming his father's hunting retreat into Europe's largest palace featuring over 700 chambers, expansive gardens, and intricate fountain systems. Dramatic expansion during the 1680s created the massive wings and courtyards visible here. In 1682, he relocated the entire French court and government apparatus from Paris to Versailles, establishing it as the political epicenter. Arriving nobles progressed through 3 successive courtyards, the palace's commanding facade expanding with each approach. Inside, thousands of courtiers vied for royal favor through complex rituals. On the garden side, formal landscapes designed by André Le Nôtre feature geometric arrangements, fountains, and tree-lined promenades where aristocrats paraded in their finest attire. The gardens received meticulous care, though horse manure from constant carriages and massive crowds meant conditions weren't as immaculate as paintings suggest. But Versailles extravagance demanded enormous expense, draining vast tax revenues while ordinary French citizens battled poverty and starvation. This gulf between royal luxury and public hardship would eventually ignite revolution. Today, Versailles remains among the world's most visited monuments, a UNESCO World Heritage destination drawing millions yearly. The Paris Observatory stands as one of Earth's oldest astronomical facilities still functioning. Founded by King Louis XIV in 1667, construction concluded in 1672. The structure was specifically engineered for celestial observation. Its four facades aligned precisely with cardinal directions, and its meridian lines served as the reference for all French cartography until Greenwich Meridian became the international standard in 1884. The observatory represented Louis XIV's dedication to science and his ambition positioning France as Europe's scientific leader. It housed the newly established Academy of Sciences and attracted distinguished astronomers continent-wide, including Giovanni Cassini, who discovered 4 Saturnian moons from this facility. The location was selected on Paris's southern periphery, away from urban smoke for superior observation. The area remained semi-rural during the 1700s with fields and gardens. The observatory continues active today as a premier astronomical research institution after over 350 years of uninterrupted scientific operation. Les Invalides was founded by King Louis XIV in 1670 as a military hospital and veterans' home for injured soldiers. Previously, disabled veterans often resorted to street begging. Louis XIV sought to honor those who served France by providing care and respect. The enormous complex accommodated up to 4,000 veterans simultaneously with dormitories, medical facilities, workshops, and this vast esplanade parade ground. The iconic Golden Dome designed by Jules Hardouin-Mansart and completed in 1706 became among Paris's most identifiable landmarks. This engraving from approximately 1710 shows Les Invalides when newly constructed. Veterans lived under military regimen, attending daily religious services, laboring in workshops, and participating in ceremonies. The area maintained better sanitation than congested central Paris, benefiting from open space and military upkeep. Today, Les Invalides remains an operational military hospital and contains the Army Museum and Napoleon's tomb beneath the Golden Dome, added in 1861. By the late 1780s, France faced catastrophe. Decades of costly warfare and lavish royal expenditure had bankrupted the kingdom. Failed harvests drove bread costs skyward while the nobility paid virtually no taxes, forcing common people to shoulder the entire burden. When King Louis XVI convened the Estates General in May 1789, the first time in 175 years, the Third Estate representing commoners demanded genuine political authority. The king attempted suppression. On July 14, 1789, Parisians stormed the Bastille prison. This depicts the violent ransacking of Saint-Lazare prison on July 13, 1789, one day before the Bastille assault. Saint-Lazare originated as a medieval facility for lepers, transforming into a monastery, then a prison holding debtors and individuals incarcerated by royal decree without trial. Paris was experiencing critical bread shortages, and rumors circulated that grain was stockpiled at Saint-Lazare while people starved. On July 13, furious crowds invaded the complex, liberated approximately 50 prisoners, and plundered the buildings. The mob seized stored grain, wine, and provisions, loading carts to distribute in streets. They systematically demolished the prison, shattering windows, destroying doors. Ironically, during the Reign of Terror in 1793 to 1794, Saint-Lazare became one of Paris's most notorious revolutionary prisons, containing aristocrats and suspected counter-revolutionaries awaiting the guillotine. The complex was eventually razed in the 19th century, and Gare Saint-Lazare train station now partially occupies the site. This Hellman engraving shows the Bastille storming on July 14, 1789, the day following the Saint-Lazare attack and the French Revolution's most iconic moment. The Bastille was a medieval fortress prison in eastern Paris, a despised symbol of royal oppression where the king could detain anyone without trial. On the morning of July 14, thousands of Parisians marched to the Bastille, demanding weapons and gunpowder stored within. The fortress's governor, Bernard-René Delaunay, refused surrender. After prolonged negotiation, the crowd attacked with cannons, and intense combat erupted with musket volleys and artillery creating smoke clouds. The battle lasted roughly 4 hours. Nearly 100 attackers perished, but eventually defenders capitulated. The crowd surged inside, freed the 7 prisoners held there, and brutally executed Governor Delaunay and several guards. Their heads were paraded through Paris on spikes. Though only 7 prisoners were discovered inside, the Bastille's fall became the revolution's defining moment, proving the people could defeat royal authority through force. The Bastille was completely demolished by November 1789. Today, Place de la Bastille and the July Column monument mark the location, and July 14th remains France's national celebration, Bastille Day. The magnificent palaces, churches, and institutions we've explored today reveal only partial reality. Behind the grand exteriors, most Parisians struggled in conditions nearly unimaginable today. The concepts of liberty, equality, and democracy that emerged from revolutionary Paris spread across Europe and beyond, fundamentally reshaping our understanding of governance, human rights, and civilization itself. If you appreciated this exploration through 18th century Paris, please share in the comments which city and which historical period you'd like to experience next. Your hometown might appear in our upcoming video. Thanks for joining us, and as always, we'll meet you in the past.